Welcome back to the uh, second lecture, and there I'll be covering the part one that contain the scientific conduct. Okay, so scientific conduct that contain five separate parts. So here is the scientific conduct. So first part of this scientific conduct is the ethics with respect to science and research. So let's go to directly in that part. So this is the part one, ethics. So first of all, what we like to know, what is ethics? So ethics is the word, so that has been actually derived from Greek word called ethos, which basically means a person's character, nature, and dispositions. So from childhood itself, we know about what is good, what is bad, what should be done, what should not be done, and some sort of based on the ethics, right? So from childhood, we learn that one. Now, when you talk about the research, the similar kind of, for example, the person character or behavior, how should be or should not be, the similar kind of activity also be applied when you are going to conduct your research and reporting your research. So the in short word, what we can say, it is kind of a moral, right? This is related to moral, um, and relating to the moral and trading the moral questions, and that could be just finding out the what is right, what is wrong, and so on, right? So if you think about the what are the integrity of this ethics word, so that's first of all is the moral that contain also principles, honesty, right, fairness, responsibility, consciousness, choice, honor, value, and integrity. So these are the uh, some words which are directly related to the ethics, right? So then we talk about the what are the principles. So principles actually based on these are the integrity. So here I have listed some of the principle of the ethics. For example, honesty, those things are here. Also, some of the are overlapping. In the honesty, objectivity. So when you think about the research object, then in that part, how you have to apply your real practice, good practice. Integrity, carefulness, openness, transparency, accountability, intellectual property, confidentiality, right? There are many things you'll be go through. The each and every word has a very crucial important things. When you are preparing your manuscript, then your supervisor will ask you to be confidential about the what you are finding, right? Until unless you are appearing the peer judge person, right? Or you are putting something for the publication purpose, then you are allowed. But before that, your data should be or your thoughts should be very confidential. You have to keep little bit lips tight, right? So this practice should be there. So all of the components of this principle of the ethics, so that is very important. You have to be keep it in mind while performing your research. So here the set of principle of morals, the science of morals, and moral principles, rules of conduct, and the whole field of moral sciences. So when you think about the research, then you have to keep in mind some of the things, and I directly next slide, I'll some of the parts will be correlated. Why actually it is so important. So this is basically helps distinguish between right and wrong or good enables in relation to actions, violations, or character of the responsible belongs, right? So here basically these things you are going to apply on the research components. So here is the more details about what ethics means more in details. For example, you want to unsettle the established beliefs, right? conserve conserve about possible alternatives and develop new ways of seeing some things, right? So basically here we talk about the what basically research means. Research means you are want to project your thoughts further. You stand on the shoulder of the what previously done, and then you look beyond what can be possibility, or what are the existing thoughts are there, existing rules are there, existing concepts are there, existing data over some topics are there. Then you want to further, you want to look. If you want to look further, then you need to have a good amount of knowledge so that you can ethically judge them properly, right? Because that is the game of the research. So you have to be judged properly by using your proper set of knowledge, okay, and integrity. And while doing that one, then you have to apply this ethics. It's nothing but basically you're trying to find out the what is wrong, what is right, and that helps indirectly unsettle the established belief, right? So if you want to argue on that something, then you should be judged by that way. Okay. So basically the same things here also I have written here to search for the reasons, evidences, and arguments for one that might support on beliefs rather than another, right? So you want to defeat somebody's beliefs or thoughts, you come up with a new research and try to establish that that was not that accurate, or there might be something else missing on that piece of research. Then you want to add something and argue on to something, but again you have to keep the principles of the ethics. So without that, you cannot go ahead, right? Also, to test the beliefs and establish at least provisionally, right, the truth of the matter under investigation. So this is a very important component. So somebody want to join? Okay. Yeah, Arti.
Tushar is waiting. I believe he would like to join in. He's waiting from 5, 10 minutes.
Somebody. Yeah, here. Mm.
Recording in progress.
Yeah, try to be in time so that, as I said in the first meeting, that's what I keep the first meeting so general. I did not talk about any topic. And if you miss the first class, and now not try to be in time because I usually maintain the time. So I don't keep you waiting because I know the uh, value of the time, right? So I don't want to kill anybody's time and also my time, right? So be in time so that we can complete in 40 minutes because I have this time I am using Zoom link, Zoom platform for conducting the research so that I can record it for future reference. So I request you to be in time so that within 40 minutes I enter you and then complete the things, because at each section I will want to give you a link for the further study as well as the some questionnaire I'll give you so that you can note down or just take a snapshot so that you prepare your assignment from right beginning or prepare it, and then when I post your assignment then you just write down those things. Okay. So okay. So now what are the problems in the ethical problems, right? So there is a complexity of the single research problem, right? Yeah, single research problems can give rise to multiple questions of the proper behavior. Sometimes we actually during initial days when you start researching and optimizing the things. So I think every research, uh, whatever the field you are doing, so you need to do something called optimization, right? And during initial days you have a not much knowledge about how things will behave, the problems you have taken, right? Because research you are going to do means that is something new one to you to do, not like uh, it's what already done you want to improvise, then that is another thing. So you get some sort of guidance from the previous work and then you project it further, right? So during initial days you need to be very very patient because such things has to be multiple times have to be done, and then you when you find the repeating things then only you going to report or something, right? So that means When you do that one, so every day you may see something behavior like this by changing the condition and all these things. So when there is a complex situation arise, and then you have to sort out which one is right and which was in wrong. Okay. So in that time, you have to apply all the principle of the ethics. And that's what I give the list. What are the list should we belong to or counted as a ethics part? Is a very important. Okay. So you have to consider that one. Second thing, sensitivity to ethical issue, uh, which is necessary, but not sufficient for solving them, right? It is a necessary thing, but it is not the ultimate one, because you have to perform it again, the experiment, or theoretically, if you are doing some simulation or whatever you are, the research you are doing, you have to do it multiple times and then come out with the result. So, but every time you have to apply the ethical related, the moral, whatever the integrities are there on ethics. So you have to apply those and then you sort out the system. So the ethical problems that can be related to both subject matter of the research and the conduct of the research. So that's what I already, in the first point, I already explained. So this could be subject matter of the research, and also it could be the conduct of the research. So when you are conducting, then you also judge something called logical things. So when you want to do something, then you first do a literature survey and then set the conditions for your research, and then try to figure it out how things are going from one set of experiment done, then next set of experiment you have to do. And then while doing the next set of experiment, then you have to keep in mind that in previous case, I have done the apply this kind of condition. Now I am going to apply this condition. Again, when you are going to this one, then you have to think logically. Why you are at the end, you have to, even writing a paper, you have to justify why you are doing this, why you are doing that. Then you have to come up with the answer, right? And that's what, whenever you are thinking of the project work, then you have to apply the ethical problems on that, judging the whatever the set of components you are setting up for your experiment, right? So that's what you say. An adequate understanding of ethical problems sometimes requires a broad perspective based on the consequence of the research, right? Consequence in the sense, one set of experiment you have done, come up with some results and analyze them and things whether what are the directions is it projecting you, okay, whether you should keep the same condition and continuously do that, finding that repeating, or you need to change the parameters and what happening. So once you satisfy, then you final run. So that's what in any experiment you have to do 3 times in the research. First time you just run and watch out. Second time you just try to sort out what are the issues are there, and third time you just whatever the first second the consequently you have done, then for the final round has to be done exactly the way it is publishable, or it is giving the story out of the project, right? You have to find out some story on the project. Otherwise, what you want to convey, your objective is fulfilling, right? So that object is the center point, and then you do the things. So that's what is the consequence of the research, and that's why you need a broad sense of understanding of the ethical topic. So ethical problems that can be also the pardon to the research, science and research. So that's what already I spoke with the research, what is research, and then you apply on the science, what you are doing on that research, okay. So the judgments about the proper conduct lie on the continuum ranging from the unethical to ethical. So you sometimes we say no, back and forth. You do the things back and forth and then try to come up the right judgment. So that way it works. Now, what are the nature of the judgment? So when you think about the ethical problem and then go ahead and then you think of the nature of the moral judgment, you would talk about it. Here are the few points I talk about it. If research is inviting subject to enter in a relationship which is honest and open, the researcher owes his or her subject to a similar level of honesty and often of offense, right? So particularly if you are a somebody, see, there is a medical research where a human being is a part of the research, and they use as a object of the study, right? And in that case, then the when you are take care, then sort of terms and conditions you have to fill up. You have to fill up the some form, and then so and so purpose you are invited for take part of the research, and you will be a object of this research and something to find out medical field. So then that means if somebody is you are hiring somebody or inviting for the part of a research, then you have to something keep confidential. You cannot expose that person or human being to all over the world, right? Until unless it's very crucial to offense. So somebody has a own integrity, right? So you should not open up everything, right? So this kind of things has to be in the practice. So if researcher is, and that's what we say, if researcher is encouraging honesty and openness of a kind who is expose the subject to risk of injury, then researcher has some obligation to protect the subject from that injury, right? So if you are using somebody and then there is a chances of injury, then they should be protected from that, right? So you have to recover them. You have to take care proper way so that there should not be nasty things should not be done over the object, right? Because you are using person as a object for your research purpose. So the thing asset might be an action. So what are the asset? There might be an action or person, an institution or state of affair, and the attribute that might be either to general or the specific, right? So if it is general, such as rightness or badness, and if it is a specific, such as loyalty or injustice. So these are the few things on the moral judgment of it. Okay. Now next is the what are the nature of yeah, what are the nature of the ethical reaction in research? The what kind of nature of the ethical research? So, for example, something you are if it is a granting institute, right? Research subjects would be considered as the another granting institute, right? And that granting their valuable times in return of the generation the so if you the research subject considering, right? So that itself is a granting institute, right? You grant somebody to develop something. So here granting in the sense you are granting their valuable time, and in other words, you want to get out of something. I don't know why these students are coming, going, and something happening like okay, or in between coming. There is a called something called traditional cost-effective model that underlies the ethical decision making in the research should be modified to emphasize the outcomes of both doing and not doing the research, right? So keep all the time, all the topics you are, when you are thinking of the ethics related things, you think the all principles. You just keep it in mind all the principles. Whatever the discussion going on, you see everywhere there will be some of the components are coming over here, right? So that's what so the tradition cost benefit model that underlying the ethical decision making a research should be modified to emphasize the outcome both doing and not doing. See, we are again trying to find out the what is right and wrong. So we are doing and not doing the research. So this kind of balancing condition you're trying to figure out. The more details reporting of ethical procedure use should be required and expected in all public research. So nowadays it's a computer generated, you can many things, a computer era. So you can do something wrong practice, and future I'll be talking about this part more actually. When you are reporting something, whenever you are thinking about the publishing the research, and then you must consider the ethical, what are the ethicals issue could be arise on that. So if you take care the all ethical problems or principles, and then eventually you'll be a healthy condition, not to put yourself in a big bad situation, right? So a focus on the ethical acceptability of applied research should become a critical component of a mutually reinforcing applied scientific community. The focus ethical accept. So again, you just apply all these things, always even the applied research also, and that became a critical component. It's very, very critical components of a mutual when you are reinforcing something on the applied scientific community, right? So you're a applied scientific community, actually you are not a, you cannot do like a medicinal field. One of the things I always take example where you cannot do any wrong practice. If you do a wrong practice, that will indirectly going to impact on your society, right? Because there is a huge community depends on that. So that's what whenever talk about the medicinal field, drugs related, pharmaceutical related things, you should not, you should be very clear yourself and very neat and clean way to report something, so that that should not be misleading you, and not only it will damage yourself, but it will be damage the large part of society, right? And indirectly human being can be suffered for a long generation. So should not do that. So that's what the evaluation of the ethical acceptability of social research requires an awareness of the ethical climates in society and in the scientific community. And that's what you are taking this course, so that you should know some of the things, and then you should not do anything as a wrong practice. Okay, so we complete this part, and I'll right away I'll give you one link. So we just parallelly open this link in your system so that